to give some, say something about each of them. I will start with the intellectual output one, that was the website. The website was of major importance for us because it was the place where the web place where we put all the information related with the project. This website also was designed in all languages used in the project: English, Spanish, Turkish, Italian, and Portuguese. So if you are from one of these countries, you can access to the information in your own language. In this website, you will find a lot of information: the aims of the project, the national context of each of the universities that participate on this project, the logo, how we create the logo, the events that were conducted during these 3 years, the summer course, the scholars, the press news, the interviews, and the international conference. As you know, you probably got your information about the international conference on this web page. So in this website, you will find also information related with our meetings, group meetings, where we work together to take all the aims of the project to a successful course. So you can find also information related with our meetings. First, our meetings were face-to-face, presential. Then we have, due to pandemic COVID-19, we have to conduct our meetings online. You also have access to news, social media news that were publicized in each of our countries. And it is also in this website that you will find our research, the research that we already finished and the research that is undergoing. You also can find here the interviews that we conduct among women directors from the national sport federations of the 5 countries. Portugal, Italy, and Turkey already finished we already finished the interviews, but we are now starting the interviews in the United Kingdom. Soon we will start the interviews in the United Kingdom. That's why they are not here yet. So we also have information about the international conference, and you know this well because it was here that you see the call for abstracts, and also that you submit your abstract and register yourselves in our conference. The second intellectual output is related to a logo, the logo that represents us and our aims to promote gender equality in the governing bodies of sport organization. The logo of the project was selected through a competition. This competition was publicized at universities of the 5 countries, inviting students from the universities of fine arts, physical education, and sport design to reflect about these issues, about gender discrimination, diversity, equality, sport, and to submit their ideas through a logo, by presenting us a logo. We have a total of 49 candidates that participate in the logo competition. Most of them were from Spain and Italy. Unfortunately, we don't have any from Portugal. As Portuguese, I was very sad with this. So, the first prize of the logo was for to students from the University of the Basque Country, in Spain. And the second and third prizes were to Italian students. As you can see in the image, you see how the logos can be different, but all of them reflect about diversity and sport. That was the idea. In the third intellectual output, we create a logo artistic catalog. The idea was to reunite the 8 finalist logos of the contest, of the competition, and a further 5 that were selected in an electronic catalog to publicize and give to know the work of these talent students, and also to publicize or to give an account of how they think equality. In some way, logo was used for us to raise gender awareness in these young students, and I think we got there. So this is some of the logos in our catalog. You can, if you are interested in see it, you can download the catalog from our website, where you can see how these young students conceptualize these issues related with discrimination, equality, gender, and sport, and how they transform that in a symbol. So I invite you to go to the logo catalog and to explore it. You can download the logo catalog in our website. The fourth intellectual output was the e-book. The e-book was entitled Corporate Governance in Sport Organizations, a Gender Perspective. The aim of this e-book was to report in each of the countries involved in the project the state of female participation in the governing bodies of the National Sports Federation. So the idea was that each author could give an account of the political, normative, and cultural conditions of their own country related to gender and sport, and in particular to female participation in the governing bodies of sport organizations. So, as you can see by this index of our ebooks, each author was free to define the structure of its own chapter and to adapt this structure to the specificities of her country. I invite you to read this ebook. It can give an overview. It gives an overview of the reality on these issues in each of these 5 countries. The link where you can access to the ebook is that one that is in the PowerPoint, and it's of course in our website. The 5 intellectual output was our database. This was the first database that we create. The database includes information collected on the websites of 297 national sports federations. The idea to create this database was to conduct a quantitative analysis on the participation of female directors in sport organizations and corporate governance practice. So we define some indicators related with the sport organizations, in this case the national sports federations, like regulations, codes, social participation, ethical and gender codes, and also we collect information related with individuals that were part of the board, like age, gender, experience, sports, professionals, children, education, position on the board. These were some of the indicators that we considered in our database. The intellectual output 6 was our first scientific article. it was an article that used as empirical data the database, the first database that we create. And this article was entitled Female Presidency and Corporate Boards of European National Sports Federation, a comparative study. So the aims of this joint article was to explore the factors affecting the likelihood of having a female chair in the national sport federations in the 5 countries, of course, involved in the GESPORT project. The research question was the board size, the variables that we consider, board size, board gender diversity, and the age of national sport federations affect the likelihood of having a female chair in the national sports federations. The method that used to, the analysis that we used to answer to this question was a logistic regression analysis with the sample that we consider for our database of 297 national sport federations. The findings, what we have to say about the findings? The findings, the analysis confirms that the national sports federations with a woman as board chair are few and represent an average of 0.07% of the sample. Board gender diversity and organizational age have no significant effects on the gender and on the gender of the chair of the national sport federations. The conclusions, the 3 variables, the main conclusion was that the 3 variables, according to the existing literature, produce some impact on the gender of the leadership position in contexts other than sport. Our result could mean that the presidency in the national sport federations has a stronger symbolic meaning connected to masculinity than in other organizational contexts. Especially the fact that no significant relationship has been found in the board diversity suggests that the social representation of a woman board director is different from that of a woman board chair. Consequently, or as an effect, the results for having women on the board are significantly different from the reasons for having a woman as a board chair. Intellectual output 7, the final questionnaire. This questionnaire aimed to identify the nature of gender relations inside the national sport federations and the gender policies adopted related to governing sport boards. The structure of our questionnaire was composed by 44 questions divided in 4 main dimensions according with the Connell's gender relations model, where you consider the dimension, symbolic dimension, emotional dimension, production dimension, and power dimension. We consider also a set of questions about gender policies adopted by the national sport federations, and a final question about the effects of the pandemic COVID-19 on gender discrimination. The intellectual output 8 was the survey is undergoing. We didn't finish this intellectual output, but we hope to finish soon. So data are being, and I won't add that we didn't finish because of this pandemic, also COVID-19 that affect the deadlines for our intellectual output to be concluded. So the aim of this survey was to gather data from the application of the questionnaire that was previously tested on a small sample in each country. The respondents of this questionnaire were all members, women and men, of the boards of the national sport federations of the 5 countries involved in the project. The method we use, we send the questionnaire by the email, and the respondents has to fill out the questionnaire online. The intellectual output 9 is the database 2 that is under construction. So to produce, the aim is to produce a database based on the questionnaire and centered on the answers to the survey among men and women directors that take part of the sport board in each country. So we are now getting the response to the questionnaire, and we are now constructing this database. The intellectual output 10 was our second scientific article entitled "The Impact of Gender Targets and Gender Diversity in the Corporate Boards of the National Sport Federations." The aim of this article, sorry. Just a minute, I pass too much quick the slides. So the aim is to explore the level of achievement of the 2018 of the gender target set in 2000 by the International Olympic Committee of having at least 20% of women in national sport federations in the 5 countries involved in the GESPORT project. The research question is, which is the global level of compliance in the national sport federations regarding the Olympic Committee, the Committee Olympic International recommendations? Is there any relations between age, board size, the country of the national sport federation, and the level of compliance? That is our research question. The method, or the analysis method, was logistic regression on a sample of 297 national sport federations. The findings, the main findings, the analysis confirms that the global level of compliance is very low. The age of the National Sports Federation does not seem to have any impact, while the board size, or being a national sport federation from Italy, Portugal, or Turkey, has negatively contributed to predicting that the National Sports Federation board has a 20% or greater percentage of women. The main conclusions are that women's access to board is easier in smaller organizations that are perceived as more simple to manage. Differently from the UK and Spain, Italy, Portugal and Turkey had no experience neither with gender quotas nor with some form of incentive concerning the gender diversity of the boards of their national sports federations in the period under research. Thus, putting gender target at an international level can be effective only if the single country activates forms of question or incentive. So, the intellectual output 11 was the interviews. The interviews were conducted in the aim was to conduct interviews, record in video, with among 10 women, and each women that were members of the boards of the National Sports Federation in each country. That was our aim. So why we decide to do this? We decide to give a more subjective account of the experience, gendered experience of these women. So we value, we collect, or the idea was to explore their own meanings, experience, and thoughts of women in sport related to gender, to sport, to power, and to decision making. The interview guide, so we did a long interview and a short interview. In the video, you can see in the video, you can see the short interview. The short interview is, the interview guide was composed by 10 questions. The questions were related with personal experience, sport, equal opportunities and gender diversity in sport, the role of these women, their position on the board, and their gender experience on the sport board, management practice and policies related with gender equality in sport governments in general and in their own board, and expectations about women participation on the decision making in sport. So you can see some of these interviews in our website. The intellectual output 12 was another scientific article. The aim of this article was entitled Women in the Corporate Boards of the National Sport Federations in Italy, Portugal, Spain, Turkey, and United Kingdom, an explorative study. The aim of this joint article was to provide a general overview of the presence of women in the governments of the national sport federations in the 5 countries. In the light, have in mind or having in account the gender quotas regulations in each country and the gender stereotyping of sports. So the research questions were, which is the distribution by country of the female presidents, vice presidents, and board members of the national sports federations of the 5 countries? Is there any relations between this distribution and the gender quotas regulations of the country and or the gender stereotyping of sports? That was our research question. All the 3 articles, joint articles, use data from our first database. So here in this article, we compared the female presence in the 297 national sports federations of different countries using box plots in order to observe quartiles, minimum and maximum values, median and outliers. About the findings, in addition to confirming the scars of women in the boards, 2 groups emerge, of countries emerge, one with a better performance and the other with a worse performance in terms of female presence. However, the 2 groups show a different composition according to the role in research. Taking the number of women on the boards as a reference, UK and Spain belong to the better performing group. Concerning the exploration of the president, vice president roles, the better performing group include UK and Portugal. As such, considering, so our conclusions are the following ones. Considering A, the distribution of the female positions by type of sport, B, the period research where Italy, Portugal, and Turkey had no mandatory gender quotas like the UK, or severe infractions like Spain, we can infer that the sports considered as feminine or highly feminized tend to reinforce women in the decision-making positions only in the countries with quotas or other measures in favor of gender diversity, and only in the simple access to the board, but not in the access to the presidency or vice presidency role. So this is our main conclusion related to regarding this intellectual output. The book Proceedings is now is ongoing. So is a work in progress since we are now conducting the conference. But the book proceedings includes the 150 abstracts of our international conference on multidisciplinary perspectives on equality and diversity in sport. The abstracts were reviewed by the members of the conference scientific committee, and the conference topics are distributed by the several streams related to gender and sport: management, marketing, corporate governance, culture, economics, education, fairness and ethics, fine arts, history, labor market, physical activity, language and inclusivity, communication science, psychology, religion, sociology and law. The proceedings book also includes two types of abstracts: academic abstracts that are strictly abstracts resulting from research, and B, abstracts that tell stories about personal and professional and institutional stories. So we have these two types of abstracts. The last intellectual output is our final report that we have to do. The final report lists the main results as well as the tangible and intangible projects that have been produced for dissemination and are related to the project. It consists of making a report with the main results of the project, including conclusions and recommendations. That is a very important part of our project in order to contribute to gender equality and culture of diversity in the governing bodies of the national sport federations of each countries, of the 5 countries, sorry. And it is planned to be written in the last transnational meeting of GESPORT Project at the second term of 2021. Thank you for listening me. I'm going now to stop sharing my presentation. If you have any questions or any comments, please be free to do it. Thank you.
There are no any questions in the chat. Yeah. Maybe only to say that in the European Union, in the next term of the Erasmus program, that kind of projects has changed a bit. It's not exactly the same. It's not, the name is not collaborative partnership. Is not now the same, and it's another title. I think that is sport in general.
Okay. Thank you, Luisa,
for
qualifying us. It's important to say that these projects, the outputs are outputs related with the community, to the community, right? The aim is to contribute for people to think more about these issues, about how our national sports federations are governed and how gender discriminations continue to be reproduced on these organizations. And how that we need to change this kind of culture. So I hope our project contributes to raise awareness about these issues, not only on the people that have the power to decide, the decision making, but also the community in general.
So, well done. And then, if there are not more questions, we can finish. No? Just a moment, please, Ana. Manuel Bache. Was. We have a question.
Yes, do you want to answer, Luisa?
I don't know the last word. Recon. Manuel, can you write this in Spanish? ¿Qué? ¿Sí, Ana? Pero es que la última palabra no la tengo clara. Manuel, ¿podrías escribirlo en español?
I think it's recognized.
Recognize, I think that is a typing.
It means I think the question, if I understand well, I don't know if I understand well, is how our project can have impact, how can reach different sectors of the community. I think by research, we will do that with the publication of our outputs and the discussion among researchers that are concerned with these issues as well. We have these free articles, but we hope to work also the qualitative data as soon as possible, and when we finish these free articles before. And also by making recommendations that we hope to reflect on based on research. Yes, on our final report. We cannot create policies. That is not our aim here. We only can make recommendations and hope that others will continue to research on these areas, subject area. In my country, there are few people working on sport and gender. So I hope these kind of projects like ours can motivate and other persons to do the same. Because we don't have a lot of information or concerning the sport context, and access sometimes is not very easy. So it's nice to see in this conference athletes and coach and referees interesting also in doing research, and also allowing us to understand better by sharing their experience, their own context.
Vale. ¿Cómo puede ser considerado el proyecto en términos de amplitud? ¿Te hemos respondido a la pregunta? Vale. Sí, parece que dice exacto. Vale. Sí, que lleva retraso el YouTube. Nicolás, has joined the chat. ¿Podemos poner el sonido? A ver, espera, voy a intentar poner el sonido. No, no le puedo poner sonido, ¿verdad? No. No, porque estamos en YouTube. Es que había una palabra que no teníamos muy clara, la amplitud. Gracias.
De nada, Ana. It's a pleasure. You can speak you can write in Spanish if you want. I understand. Thank you.
Vale, ya está. Well, so we finish and see you tomorrow.
See you tomorrow. Okay, yes, see you tomorrow, Luisa. I don't have access to the links to participate in the. Did you send it?
Yes, I have sent the document with the links.
Okay.
You can use it.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
You are welcome.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you, Nicolas.